Good day, everybody, and welcome to today's episode about retirement living and property investment buying in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. And today I'm going to talk about 3 scams that you should try to avoid in Johor Bahru, right? Scams, right? So, what are the typical scams that I think most Singaporeans are probably not aware of, or maybe when you're in JB, you don't really pay attention to it, and maybe you're losing a bit of money out of this. So let me go through these three scams one by one. First one is that when you come to pump petrol, right? If you drive in Malaysia, and actually a lot of people do this from Singapore, they take their car to Malaysia to pump petrol. Of course, petrol in Malaysia is a lot cheaper, right? Let me explain the differences. Now, I'm actually inspired on this because I saw this happen to another YouTuber, Mr. Lu from 1M65. He actually mentioned that he gonna scam on this. So let me explain to you the different grades of petrol in Malaysia. So the first grade is the RON 95, right? RON 95, which is the cheapest grade of petrol in Malaysia. If you go to a petrol station, these are typically the yellow color pumps. All their fuel pumps are yellow. They are the cheapest type of petrol available, 2 ringgit. 2 ringgit and 5 cents per litre. But this petrol is actually not available to Singaporean cars. So if you're driving a Singaporean car, actually by law, you are not allowed to pump this petrol, and please don't try it, right? Actually, the petrol stations in Johor Bahru, they have all the signage there telling you cannot pump this petrol. And actually, the petrol attendants do watch out if foreign cars, Singapore cars, try to pump this petrol. So you cannot pump this car unless you are driving a Malaysian plate car. Okay, so that's number one. But this is, of course, the cheapest petrol type available, RON 95. In Singapore, this is probably just over $2 Sing, so you can imagine the amount of savings, right? So big price difference. Okay, the one that you can pump is actually the RON 97, right? So RON 97 is a higher quality petrol, so 97 better than 95. So this one, Singapore car can pump. Now, if you go to the petrol station, this is typically green color pump. Right, so green color pumps, the price for this is $3.47, 3 ringgit 47 cents. This is still cheaper than Singapore, quite a fair bit, and you're getting 97, yeah, which is in Singapore costs a lot more. So the if you go to any petrol station, typically they are marked as green, and this is the one that you should pump. Okay, so where typically people get scammed is they go and pump the even higher grade ones, right? So like for example, Shell Malaysia has what we call the the V-Power petrol, right? Which is a high quality RON 97. It's actually the same type that they use for Formula 1 cars, right? And this petrol is a lot more expensive. It's 6 ringgit 10 cents per litre, right? Almost double of the standard RON 97, the green one. So the red one, you see in Shell, they're a lot more expensive, almost double the price of the typical RON 97. So if you pump this, right, you're going to pay a lot more for your petrol. Now, is the petrol better? Yes. Actually, if you have ever pumped before the V-Power, right, you will notice your car will have significant performance, right? I have done it before. For those of you, normally people use this for the high performance cars, like if you drive Ferrari, Lamborghini, you know, and you wanna try what a high performance petrol is like. What does F1 car use? Okay, you can pump this V-Power and then you drive out. Wow, you will see a difference. Actually, it's true. The 97 V-Power, you can see a noticeable difference in your car performance, right? But of course, it's a lot more expensive petrol. But it's a red color one. If you go to other brands, I think it's other color like silver color. Yeah, but take note, right? These are the more expensive petrols, which if you just want to drive for daily use, no point you pump so much high performance petrol which costs so much more. Okay, and of course, don't pump black color. Black color is for diesel, right? Unless your diesel car, don't pump black, right? If you pump diesel into your petrol car, then jialat, your car cannot drive. Actually, you need to call someone to tow your car to take out the diesel from your petrol car. Okay, so that is scam number 1. Hope you learn from it. Don't just pump the green color one. Don't pump other color unless you intentionally want high performance petrol. Scam number 2 is actually groceries. Now, when you buy groceries, I think some people actually, when you drive into Malaysia, right, you do take advantage because you're going in with an empty car to go and buy groceries. And you can get significant savings from buying groceries in Malaysia. But the problem is sometimes high level, you don't know what groceries to buy. Some groceries you buy, whereas actually it's more expensive than Singapore or as expensive than Singapore, right? So the general rule of thumb is that anything which is imported, Malaysia imports, Singapore imports, right? For example, let's say Australian beef, right? Australian beef, that means whether you're Singapore or Malaysia, you import this beef from Australia. So the price for this kind of items will likely be the same even after conversion, right, or even higher in Malaysia is possible, right? There will not be a noticeable price difference, right? Like for example, wine from Italy, wine from France, right? In Malaysia, they could be probably more expensive than they are in Singapore. So what you should look out for when you're trying to buy groceries in Malaysia is typically anything that's made in Malaysia, right? Made in Malaysia. So a good example I like to use is a loaf of bread, right? The typical thing that a lot of Singaporeans families buy or use on a daily basis. Now, if you buy gardenia, a loaf of gardenia bread in Malaysia, it's only about 3 ringgit 50 cents versus about $2.50 in Singapore, right? So I buy this often, so I know the price very well. So this is one example of something made in Malaysia that's significantly cheaper in Singapore, and you use quite often. And every trip that you go to JB, you can probably buy one, chuck it in your car boot, right, on the way back to Singapore, right, and you have a significant savings there, right? So other items generally that you will save money is a tissue paper. This is made in Malaysia quite a fair bit. Local meats like chicken, pork, beef. Unfortunately, I think Malaysia doesn't have a lot of local beef. There is, but I don't know the opportunity to buy it. A lot of beef in Malaysia is still imported. Other things that will be cheaper in Malaysia include like vegetables, diapers. These are stuff that are made in Malaysia typically. Milk powder, right? All these are cheaper items that you will save a lot of money, right? The other thing that you can look for how to get access to cheaper brands, right? So what happens is that, like for example, oyster sauce, right? There are a range of brands, right? There are the higher end brands to the more mid and lower end brands, right? So if you want access to cheaper items, right, and you don't mind, because you think they're almost the same product, right? Which they are actually most of the time. So you don't want to pay for too much premium. You want to buy something mid-range or local, right? You have to try to buy some of these at the what we call the more affordable brand of supermarkets, right? So what are the affordable supermarkets in Malaysia? So typically, I would say Giant, Lotus, NSK, Econ Safe, Mydin. These are the more affordable range supermarkets in Malaysia, right? So if you go to this kind of places, you will find a wider variety of cheaper brand items, right, that help you fight inflation, right, and for home use or even to bring back to Singapore, right. These items here will, in these kinds of supermarkets, will generally give you more choice of affordable items, right. If you go to the mid-higher range supermarkets, which are probably Aeon, BIG, Jaya Grocer, Village Grocer, right, you will get, of course, access to more imported items, which are probably also more expensive and high-end brands. So it all depends on what you're looking for, right? So generally, you can categorize these supermarkets into this mid low end or mid high end, right? These are the range that you can look out for in terms of options to buy. The last scam I want to talk about is actually transportation. Now, in JB, I typically recommend that if you don't drive, right, to use Grab, right? Now, the Grab app, right, is the same as in Singapore. You download your own Grab, right? There's a Malaysia version as well, right? And the Grab app is good because you can, for security purposes, Grab tracks all your movement out around JB, right? Drivers are all registered, right? It's easier to find you, right? If anything ever happens, right? If you use the Grab app, and of course, Grab is very affordable. If you're within JB City itself, I think a one-way trip shouldn't cost anywhere 10 to 15 ringgit most of the time, excluding surge pricing. If you go to the outer parts like Austin or Bukit Indah, right, it'll probably cost you up to 20, 30 ringgit, right, at most, right, one way, right. So Grab is quite affordable and the best place to use it. So generally, we don't use taxi so much. I think a lot of real foreigner, right? They use a lot of taxi because they don't know. But actually, taxis are quite expensive. Typically, they charge you like flat rates per direction, right? They don't really use the meter in Malaysia. So there's kind of this issue going on in Malaysia about Grab drivers versus taxi drivers, right? Fighting each other, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't generally recommend you use taxis. That's typically where a lot of people get scammed on transportation costs, right? And don't use those, when you walk out immigration, sometimes people come and see you and say, hey, you want taxi to so-and-so location. Those guys are typically what we call non-registered taxi drivers or non-registered private hire. Please don't use the type people as well. Not safe, less safe, and then of course no app tracking, right? So don't use that kind of guys as well. Try to use Grab. Grab is my recommended method to avoid getting scammed, right? And you get very transparent pricing on the Grab app. Okay, if you are driving, Malaysia typically we use Waze. The Waze app is a very, very popular and very, very well supported in Malaysia. Waze is quite accurate. I would say more accurate than Google Maps in Malaysia. So if you are driving in Malaysia and you want to get around, just use Waze. I think Waze is a very, very good app for use in Malaysia and will get you to where you need to go. So thank you very much. That was my short video about 3 scams in Malaysia try to avoid. I mean, I hope they help you. These are small tips to improve the quality of life in Malaysia and Johor Bahru, in case you didn't know already. If you like our content, do like, share, and subscribe. One thing is we're coming up to Hari Raya soon in Malaysia. Hari Raya is next week, I think Wednesday, Thursday. So it'll be a long holiday in Malaysia. I think most of people will already start to slow down coming this weekend. And if you have a chance to go to Malaysia, do try and enjoy the Ramadan bazaars in Malaysia, right? They're a lot more bigger and more complex than the ones in Singapore. I've been to Ramadan Bazaar Singapore. I mean, I know what the typical complaint is like, but if you go and compare to a Malaysian Ramadan Bazaar, do go and try it out. There's a lot more options, variety of foods, I mean, when it comes to versus Singapore, right? And you have to go early, right? I would recommend to go as early as 4 to 5 p.m. That's where you get the food at its freshest, right? And less crowd, right? As you hit towards 6 p.m. onwards, then you have a lot more people and less options of food. So yeah, my recommendation, if you want to go buy Bazaar Ramadan, go at 4 to 5 p.m. On a weekday, right? And on the or weekend even, yeah. And there are a lot of Bazaar Ramadan. Please go and Google on TikTok, on YouTube. You will see a lot of choices on where the various Bazaar Ramadans are in JB. I think there's around 6 to 8 major options in JB right now, right? If you love Malay food, or you just want to try a variety of food, Malaysian style, Bazaar Ramadan, I think to enjoy, and do try it out before Hari Raya happens on next week. Yeah. If you like our content, do like, share, and subscribe. Hope to add more small videos here and there, which I feel is useful to you guys in the future. Thank you very much, and bye bye.